Well, they closed down the mill and they closed down the mine. They said you can't work but pay your taxes on time. Got 3 little babies gonna starve to death or freeze. We started making white lightning, it was Grandpa's recipe. Run, rebel, run to no avail. Run, rebel, run to the Scott County Jail.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Jailhouse Informant. You are locked in for the next hour with myself and my guest tonight. My co-host, Dr. Christy Sumner, is actually not going to be able to make the show tonight because she is back at the jail giving a tour as well as an escape room experience. We ended up having a pretty full tour this evening for our February tours. And then and then we had a flashlight tour that ended up getting booked actually right about now. So it's going to be myself as well as tonight's guest, but I wanted to take a few minutes to say hello to everyone who's on here. If you have any questions at all for myself or my guest, please feel free to put those over in the comment section and we will make sure to pull those up on the screen. If by some chance you have a question, if you don't mind, please put those in all caps just so we make sure that we don't miss you whenever we're going through and having our conversation, because we will make sure to get to your comments. So a lot going on at the historic Scott County Jail this week, this month. In fact, we have had full schedule of tours as well as guided ghost hunts and escape room experiences. We're still not quite back to our regular schedule of 5 days a week. We are on an abbreviated February schedule where we're open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Fridays and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Sundays from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. But we are overloaded with after dark tours and paranormal investigations, guided ghost hunts. We have all of those up on the schedule that you can find on our website at www.historicscottcojail.com or at the number 423-663-5353. And you can see that scrolling below there. And if you have any questions at all about those events, please feel free to give us a call or check it out on our website. We did announce last week the Tag the Cell campaign. We are extremely excited about this campaign that we're doing because this is bringing community art back to the jail. We've got some pictures of our early submissions that we've had on there. Basically what this is back in 2017, whenever the jail received a tourism grant, they came in and unfortunately painted over a lot of the graffiti inside the cells. So we wanted to bring that art back. We've got little 12 by 12 canvases that's painted the same color as the jail cells. You can come in, you can purchase a canvas for $10 and you can put your poetry, your art, drawings. There's a few things you can't put on there, but you can put really essentially any type of art, song, lyrics, whatever you want to do, whatever makes you feel inspired. Return it back to the jail and we'll hang it up there for a month and then we'll return it back to you after that month is over with. So if you have any questions about that, again, our website circulating below, give us a call or check us out on the Facebook page. That is one that we are extremely excited about, that's been going strong. We do actually have those up on our website as well. If you are an out-of-towner, we've had a lot of folks ask if they can purchase those canvases, and excuse me, if they can purchase those canvases, we will ship those to you. The price that we have on the website, that includes the shipping to you, and then you just put your art on there and you ship it right back to us, and we'll put it up there in the jail. So if you're not local, that's okay. We would still love to have your art on there. Just, put your comments in there or reach out to us, but those can be purchased on the website. So I'm going to go ahead and get introduce tonight's guest on here. I know last week we didn't have a show because the Super Bowl was going on. We wanted to, kind of give that a chance, because we knew we didn't want you to have to make a decision on what you were going to be watching. So the week before that, we were carrying on our Jailhouse series with the ladies from the haunted Lavaca County Jail up over in Texas. Such wonderful ladies sharing stories about that historic jail, as well as some of the paranormal activity that we have there. Just before that, we had Henry Lee from Trenton, Florida, at the old Gilchrist County Jail. And then, of course, we had the Pickens County Jail the week before that. So we're really excited about this series and sharing all the cool things that's been going on at some of the different jails around the country. And we have a whole lot more lined up coming in the coming months. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. You never know, we may be highlighting a jail in your community. So tonight's guest, we're actually going over to one of our neighbors to the northeast of us. They're in Virginia. We're going to be speaking with the executive director of the Fauquier History Museum at the old jail. This jail was built in 1808, and it is one of the most perfectly preserved old jails in the Commonwealth, and was in operation as a jail until 1966. Today, the old jail is a history museum focusing on the histories of the town of Warrington, Fauquier County, and the Commonwealth of Virginia. The artifacts that make up the museum's exhibitions have all been donated by generous local citizens. So we're going to be talking about this museum, as well as talking about the history, as well as some of the hauntings, with tonight's guest, Mr. Gus Casper. Hey, Gus.
Hello, Miranda. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you guys have been really busy with a lot of the really cool things that you're doing at the jail. So thank you for taking the time to come on tonight and share your story, as well as share the jails with all of us.
Of course. Thank you so much.
So why don't we go ahead and start with you kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the jail, and then we'll start going into some of the history of the jail itself.
Sounds good. So I actually really got first into local history when I was about maybe like 16 years old in my home county of King William County, Virginia. I joined my local historical society, and slowly as I got older, I got more and more involved, became the board member, vice president, and then somewhere around that time, I guess when I was about 18, I went off to college, got a degree in history, took some museum studies classes, and ended up actually this past September starting at the Fauquier Museum. And so I've gotten to kind of apply that knowledge of local history and then historic preservation as well to my current job.
Wonderful. And I know you guys have been doing a lot at the jail there over the last little bit. Before we get into some of the things that you guys have been doing and what the jail is like now, let's talk just a little bit about the history itself of maybe the county and then also the jail.
Yeah, sure. So Fauquier County was established in the 1750s. It was carved off of a different county as more people began to migrate westward. So you have to think that at one point, even parts of Virginia were part of the West. So I believe it was 1751 or so, Fauquier was established and was given the name after the lieutenant governor at the time, Francis Fauquier. And yeah, so basically the jail was not the first jail built in the county. It was like the fifth or the sixth And actually, the jails before it were much smaller. I think they were made mostly of wood, maybe with a brick chimney. But the problem is with these wooden jails is they deteriorated, or maybe prisoners tore them apart, because obviously prisoners are always trying to break out, right?
Right.
Uh, Whatever the reason, they finally decided to build a brick and mortar jail, which is our 1808 building, which you can see there on the right. It's just that one section with the three windows and the three doors. So they built that in 1808, after the last jail was actually lost to a fire. But by the 1820s, it was in deplorable condition, and they decided to build a jail behind it, which you can't see there, but it's of the same material as the little add-on to that fieldstone there, to the
Okay.
left of like the brick building. So they built that, and they added on that addition that you can see there in 1824, to serve the bottom portion served as the kitchen for the jailer's family once they moved in.
Okay, wow. So how long did the jailer's family live inside the jail? Because I know that was something that was really common at our jail, as well as some of the different jails that we've spoken to on our show.
Definitely, yeah. So they moved in probably about 1823 when that back jail was first built. I read somewhere that they occupied only the first floor, and with that kitchen add-on, and then the two original cells, which have been used like as prison cells from 1808 to 1823. And the jailer's family lived there until 1966, which is pretty late, actually. I mean, that's well before that time. Really, county jails, I think, had begun to modernize, and jailers didn't really live with the prisoners as much anymore. But yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the capacity early on, whenever the jail was originally built? Do you know?
So, I mean, capacity, I mean, you could fit easily, I would say, probably 40 people in that first building. But the thing is they really wouldn't have. From the records that I've seen, they'd maybe fit. I mean, sometimes actually there would be a single person in the jail for like at any time. Sometimes there'd probably be none. So
Okay.
my guess is, as I think a jailer's son that I talked to, actually, because there is one still here in, or there it's in Warrenton. He said that I think the most that he ever saw at one time was maybe about 10 in the whole jail. So
Okay. Okay. Do you have any stories of any of the inmates? Because I know, or any of the experiences that had happened there at the jail, like any jail breaks or any significant events that happened at the jail.
definitely, I have enough to fill a couple hours. No, I mean, there were jailbreaks all the time. The fact of the matter is the jail was just not very secure. That fieldstone there that as you can see to the left, that's what the back jail like is made of. Like I said, and the back jail courtyard. And I think the problem is that chinking to that mortar. I think it would probably fall out, is my guess, and people would just scale the walls, because I mean it's like perfect made footholds.
Wow.
Actually, if you want to walk on through there to your
Okay.
left,
Okay.
um, yeah, and then go on to the right, yeah, and then you can
Oh,
kind of
wow.
see, if you go through that building, both those buildings, you'll get to the courtyard, and you can kind of see, actually, really, to what I mean, when I say that, there was a whole ton of footholds that you could definitely take.
Absolutely. Wow. Now, is that locally mined stone?
So, I mean, we don't. I mean, I don't know that for certain, but I would almost 100% say yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I love your virtual tour that you have here.
Isn't it neat?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's very cool. And I like
So
how it's got the waypoints. Yeah.
definitely. Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
local
Look at that.
fieldstone.
I did not
Very
know that.
nice. Um,
Um, but yeah, so this kind of gives you like a good sense, actually. So the portion that you had just walked through, that was the 1808 jail, and the portion that you're currently in is from 1823.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Pretty neat.
we'll just kind of scroll through this tour here, if you don't mind sharing some of the stories. You guys have done an amazing job with your museum that you have here, and I know from what I had read, as well as what was in the bio there, is that you have a very generous community that's put items on loan to you guys for these pieces.
Yes, I think all but one piece that I can think of. I mean, I definitely the vast majority was just donated by very very generous citizens. And I mean, we've been around since I think we were chartered in the either the late 60s or the late 70s. So we've had a lot of time to slowly collect artifacts. But I mean, we still have people who will come in and will give us stuff, and we're very appreciative of that fact.
Absolutely. Um, so let's see here. Like I said, I'm just going to kind of scroll through a little bit here. Now I noticed some stocks outside there. So you all did you all have any hangings or executions there from the jail?
Well, actually, you were in a perfect spot right here. Actually,
Okay.
this was the it's execution yard essentially. We have at least one confirmed execution here. Oh, I
Whoops.
don't know where you just went.
I don't
I
either.
guess you're behind.
I
Oh,
wonder if I can
actually,
get back.
if you turn all the way back around.
There we
Okay,
go.
so
Okay.
that's that courtyard. Yep. So that's on the other side of the wall. I didn't know you could go that far. That's interesting. But yeah, so we have at least one confirmed hanging here, and that hanging was actually I think a double hanging. But it would have been common. I mean, if there would have been some sort of execution, it would have happened here, for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that also the rec yard?
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. Supposedly, the thing is, so actually, like I was doing research. There's this wonderful book called Virginia Jails, and it's all about the county jails, and it talks about how they have these courtyards like that prisoners could use, but at least in the 1930s there wasn't staffing. So I
Mhm.
think that book said that two of the five county jails that did have courtyards or exercise yards didn't actually use them. So.
Okay.
We don't know if they actually used them for exercise, but we do know that it was used as as an execution yard. So
Okay, wonderful. And let's see here. And so inside of this, so I guess this has both the history of the jail as well as the history of the county.
yes, and we tried, and basically we've been trying to split it up now, so that the front building, the building that you're currently in,
Mhm.
is on Fauquier history, whereas the back building is mostly focused on the history of the jail buildings there.
Okay. And do you let's see. And so so this one, so essentially it is the most like you said, the most well maintained or the most intact jail in the Commonwealth. Is that what I read?
I'm not 100% sure about the most it's intact, but I mean, I will say, I mean, we haven't had a major addition or renovation, or well, I mean, a major addition happened at the very least since 1824. So I mean, that in itself, I think definitely has helped to preserve it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know that, or at least I've heard that we are, I think, the fifth longest continuously used jail in the U.S.,
Oh
which
wow.
is pretty impressive, I think. But just
Absolutely.
it's funny actually. Reading the old jail records, there was at least one period where people were talking about tearing the jail down, and I think that continued a lot. There were at least two periods actually,
Mhm.
but for one reason or another, the jail stuck around. Actually, most of Warrenton has changed a lot around it. In fact, this is probably the oldest building in this part of town. I mean, the courthouse it is newer than it. The whole one whole side of the jail, it's right across the street, burned to the ground in 1909, I think. So the jail is almost like like a like a stationary kind of object that like has witnessed change happen around it, but it just stays the same, and it still does.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so we're kind of taking this virtual tour here. So, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about? I know we've probably gone through some of the areas. If you need to direct me back, I can. Otherwise, we can kind of keep going through. But kind of talk about. You said that the jailer's family lived on the bottom level. Um, kind of. How was the structure of the jail? Like, how many cells were there? Was there a kitchen? We saw the yard where some of the executions took place. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit more to kind of paint a picture of what the jail was like at the time?
Definitely. So currently, actually, this view is of the kitchen. And actually, if you go a little bit farther in and then turn to your left, a little bit farther, and you'll see that a fireplace. And if you look down, what I've heard is apparently, so when this place was first actually converted from a jail to a museum in like 19, well, it was first closed in 1966. And I'm not quite sure when the transition happened. But whenever that did happen, probably in the 60s or the 70s, they took off the plaster to that fireplace wall, and they discovered all that cast iron in there. That is from
Oh wow!
like what I've heard. That is the actual cast iron that the jailer's family probably used to cook. Um, and at some point in probably maybe 1920s or so, they updated, probably put in electrical appliances and things like that. But those things survived. But yes, so basically this is the kitchen, and the two bottom cells became the jailer's house first. The upper
Okay.
cells were used by debtors in this particular building until about like the 1830s or 40s, possibly, maybe a little bit later, when the whole front building became used as just the jailer's house. And like I said, that continued to be the way it was until 1966. And I have a little bit more detail actually about one particular time period in between, I think it's 1945 and 1952 or 53. The Grimsley family actually lived here. And so what I was talking about earlier with talking to the jailer's son, he told me a lot of really interesting tidbits about the history of the jail when he actually lived here. So like this room here, this was the dining room. Um, and so this is where family meals would have happened. It's all that good stuff. Whereas if you walk through that far doorway there, that would have been the living room. Past that
Wow.
hallway, yeah,
Okay.
that a gift shop. And I remember he talked about how his father, how they became good friends with this guy from Cuba. He was Cuban man, and he was in the wrong place at like the wrong time, and I think he accidentally hit a pedestrian. Maybe it's in his car. Either way, he got about a year. It's like a year in jail.
Hmm.
But there's nothing wrong with the guy really, besides the fact that he just had an accident. You know,
Yeah.
happens to the best of us. And so basically, the jailer made friends with this guy, and Joe, the jailer's son, actually remembered talking to, or like having this guy, I guess, over. I mean, I guess just over from the jail, and him and his dad would like watch football and stuff. It's in this room.
Oh wow.
Uh, a different time.
Right. Well, that's the thing about about our jail is that we get a lot of stories of how it was such a community place where the jailer and his wife lived there and their entire family. We had some families, two in particular, one that had 12 kids and one that had seven, and their friends came over and played there. A lot of people learned to color Easter eggs. They would play hide and seek in the dumbwaiter system there. And then typically, if you were the jailer, your wife would be the cook, and she would cook not only for the deputies, the inmates, but also the family, and then usually a lot of your kids' friends. So, a lot of different stories of kids that would be out there playing basketball outside of the jail, and they kind of got to know some of the more trusted trustee inmates that worked there at the jail. So it's really fascinating to hear stories of how these jails were such a community fixture, even though they were built to, really show they meant law and order. They were really a huge part of the community.
Definitely. Yeah, and actually to speak to that, there was this one gentleman named Rand Milton, and he was a trustee, I guess. And he actually, I remember Joe, the jailer's son, tell me about how he actually learned to fry eggs from from Rand. And Rand apparently was in that jail every single weekend. And when I say that, I mean that's actually what I was told. He I guess would get a little bit too drunk, probably on Fridays, and he'd get a little rowdy or something, and he'd end up winding up there. It's every single Friday night. So basically, he was there all the time, and so he became a good friend of the families. And crazy story is after that the jailer stopped being the jailer. He moved on. I think he became chief of police later on. He moved away, obviously, and he got his own house, maybe about like a mile away. But the funny thing is that Rand actually moved in with them.
Oh,
He
wow.
didn't stop living at this, it's like around this family. And so he lived with them, because he was, he obviously had issues, probably it's alcoholism. And so the family took him in. And yeah, I'm not sure for how long that lasted, but like you said, I think that they were definitely a sort of center to the community in many, many ways. Definitely.
We have so we've got a lot of family lineage that's tied to the sheriffs who were the sheriffs at our jail. And you can kind of see it was almost sort of like a family business as you look throughout the timeline, where you would have, a dad who was a sheriff, and then, years down the line when one of his sons grew up, he became the sheriff. Do you have any kind of family lineages like that when it comes to the sheriffs or jailers that worked in your community? And maybe ours is just kind of a small town thing because we are a pretty small town, but just huge family lines that lived and worked at the jail. Do you have any history of that at yours?
Well, so the only one that I can think of, and it's funny too, because we're a small town, like as well, and so you'd expect that to happen. But the only thing that I can think of is I think that the job of jailer was handed off from father to son only once. There was a brief time in the 40s, I think, when the jailer got too old and he was having a hard times, I think, taking care of the jail, that his daughters might have come in to kind of help him. But it wasn't so much a transition. I think it was more, or it wasn't like an official transition. It was more of it's unofficial, probably to helping dad
Gotcha.
out kind of a thing. And I haven't like even confirmed that. So it's interesting, actually. That didn't really happen here. We actually had so many jailers. I think we had, that I've confirmed, at least 14 since it first opened.
Okay.
And so sometimes, a jailer would last maybe a year or two, it seems like. And other times, a jailer might last as long as 10 or 15 years. The longest one, I think, he started in, I think, 1906 or so. His name was Shirley. And he ended up, I think, and this is the one actually, the daughters, he ended up staying until the early 40s. And
Wow.
in that time, it seems like that he became a real fixture to the community. He was referred to, at least I've seen this, it's under one print, as the grand old man. And there's this poem actually that's been found, written about like how he's like the best jailer and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so no real lineages to speak of, except for that one. But yeah.
Okay. Now, this area up here on the second floor, would this have been where some of the cells were? I mean, this looks like a pretty large space.
Yeah, so what's kind of interesting is you have to think that all these cells in this front building, they would have just been kind of the way they were, probably. Um, I mean, they wouldn't have had bars, and well, they would have had bars on the windows, But I mean, wooden floors, that's just kind of the way it was.
Hmm.
This is 18th century, or sorry, 19th century cells. But yeah, so this actually was one of these original four cells. Both buildings have basically like the same general structure.
Okay.
It's basically there's a central hall, and there's two cells off of that central hall, and then the same thing above. And so this is just one of those cells that's above.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that room actually that you were just in, that was the jailer's son's room that I was talking about.
Okay.
That's that's where he grew up.
Now, now, did you all? I see where this is talking about the women's cells. So you all did house both men and women in this cell.
Yes, yes. Now I will say though that sign I don't think is actually correct. Um,
Okay.
so I'm working on change that actually, because we found out that we don't really know if that was the women's cell. It was guessed that in I think like the 1970s, because it was the only room at the time that they thought like had a fireplace, and at that time they thought that women like also would have their children there as well, but that also hasn't been confirmed either. um
Okay.
but yeah. But no, we definitely did have both sexes here.
Okay.
The only jail.
Um, let's see. I was trying to see if you could go up. I didn't know if you could go up
I
this
think you
way.
can.
Let's see here. There we go.
There you go.
Well, this is really nice. Really, I mean, I can tell that you guys have put a lot of work into this. When did this building get converted into a museum?
So either the late 60s or the early 70s, and it's not entirely clear. There actually was a fight by the local citizens to preserve this jail, because once it stopped being a jail, I mean, it's prime real estate. Directly next door to us is the court is the old courthouse, and so what they
Okay.
wanted to do, I think, was turn it into a parking lot. So I think it probably took a little bit of time for this to officially be converted, and to be kind of almost kind of handed over. But it definitely was by the late 70s. It was definitely a museum.
Wow.
Yep.
And like I said, I mean, you guys have done done an incredible job of preserving pieces of the town as well as having the cell. And of course, there's the sign for the 1823 jail cell. Um, this is very cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, we've worked hard, and actually, this is all going to be changed as well. We're trying to make it better. This is not what it currently looks like. Actually, we're kind of in the throes of this big kind of renovation, and trying to modernize this back building to have better exhibits and better display panels. We're actually putting in a theater room, so that we can not only have a sort of video to orient visitors, but also so that we can have lectures and things like that right here in house, which we're looking forward to having all of that done, hopefully by summertime.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. Did you all get a grant, or is this something that I know this is something that's a huge project. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, yeah. So we were very, very lucky. We got this grant about a year ago, and yeah. So basically, like I said, we're changing things up. We're trying to really officially make this back jail the history of just the jail. Focus on the people, the prisoners, and the jailers who were housed here, the jail buildings themselves. And we're celebrating it, and we got this grant because that we're going to be celebrating our 200th anniversary of like this back jail, since it's been around since 1823. So we're working on getting it all done by the time that it's 2023 ends, and hopefully that we'll have a bunch of fun events. Hopefully that all the exhibits should be all done, and we can have some people in and check it out.
Very nice. And can you go into these cells that we're looking at here?
So you used to be able to, but you can't currently actually.
Okay.
But yeah, so these were put in I think it was 1906 or 1909. And so the jail that you're currently walking around looked very, very different uh, back before the early 20th century. So all at one time, it seems like this jail was completely modernized. They put in these cells here. They put in concrete floors. They put in, I think, metal doors. So, and this is just part of like that process of making the jail probably more secure and more modern. Oh, it
Wow.
looks like that you can walk in there now.
Nice. That's
That's
very, I mean, y'all meant business with these
Yep.
cells.
That's a Chuck, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's our
Oh,
mannequin
thank you so
Chuck.
much.
He scares a whole lot of visitors.
I can totally understand that. Oh, wow.
Yep.
It just keeps on going on back.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. So you all still have some of the original graffiti.
We do actually. Some of it is extraordinarily vulgar. Um, but no, it's very, very neat actually. So we don't just have the graffiti left in this cell, although this is the most impressive cell for sure for graffiti. I actually hadn't even noticed this, but in our downstairs cell, the 1823 one with like the kind of chipping white paint,
Hmm.
I found some pictures on my desktop where they had taken pictures, close-up pictures of that white paint, and you can see how there's like almost like charcoal markings on it, and you
Uh-huh.
can't tell what the markings were supposed to be, but they're clearly like not painted on there, and so that is
Okay.
probably original 19th century graffiti before they plastered over these walls.
Oh,
Yeah, so
wow.
if you go on down there to the left,
Okay.
yep, so
Oops. Whoops.
you're fine.
Well, let's see. Let me
And so it's that cell to the right in there.
right through here.
Yep.
Oh,
So
okay. I see.
all that chipping paint, and I think I found one piece of it, but someone had meticulously gone through probably every square inch and taken photographs. Um,
Wow.
and you can also see you see those windows there. Each
Yes.
each cell has those, and you have to think that the cell walls are extraordinarily thick. They're built of stone. They're probably maybe about 2 feet, 2.5 feet thick. And so what you have is window, bar, and then some space, and then more bars. And so in that space
Okay.
between the bars, nobody ever painted or really messed with it. And so you can actually still see the graffiti where people like have penciled in like their names or obscenities or whatever that they felt like writing there, which I didn't even know existed until about 3 weeks ago. And I was looking out to one of the windows for some reason, and I thought to myself, that looks like pencil writing. And sure enough, so I'm working on documenting that, and we're actually talking about at some point having some sort of a display on all the different graffiti that is still left here, and because it's kind of hard to see, so we'll be getting pictures and blowing up possibly images and stuff like that to make it more visible for visitors.
Oh, that's very cool. Those little things that you find like that always are just so special because it's things that if you don't notice until you go in and you're really starting to go in and dig and kind of look around, and you can really find some really cool things once you really start looking kind of deep in some of these different locations.
Definitely, definitely. No, we actually found also, so back in that courtyard,
Hmm.
or the execution yard rather,
Hmm.
because we kind of have two courtyards. One is more of like a holding cell, and then the other one is that bigger yard.
Hmm.
Um, they did excavations here. I think between the 70s and the 90s, and then they also did another dig in like the 2000s, I think. And so they pull up a whole bunch of stuff, and it wasn't done as scientifically as it could have been done, probably, unfortunately. But we do have some stuff from it, and if you look to your right, you can see one of the two pits that survives that that
Okay.
that hole right there. And there's another one to your left. I think it was probably the one to your left that was dug in the 80s, I think. And I actually talked to the guy who was labeled in one of the newspaper articles as the shovel wielder, and he said that he got 8 feet deep down in this pit.
Wow.
It was probably like an old privy, um, but I'm not entirely sure. And anyway, in these excavations, they found it's an old clay die, which we still have out like on display, probably made by a prisoner here, because he's bored, trying to find something to do. And obviously, I guess a die is going to be able to let you play some more games or gamble. So we do. So we have that, and the other really cool physical object that we have that really gives you a sense of like the life of a prisoner. We have this very intricately woven necklace. It's of horse and mule hair,
Okay, I think I
and
saw the thing up there that in the upper cell. I think we're yeah.
probably, yeah. It was made for it was made by a chain gang member, actually, for a lay minister's wife who I guess was nice to the prisoners, and he decided that he wanted to make something nice for her. And so we do have that. And when you look at that thing, it's really amazing. It's like intricate hooks. I wish I had a picture to show on here, but it's intricate hooks of individually woven circles of horse to mule hair. I mean, it must have taken. I know that I couldn't make it even given a year. But I mean, if you think about it, these people, like I was reading in this one book, actually, that a book on Virginia jails. They might have played dice or cards or read magazines, but really what this book said is, and this was a study, of course. What this book said was that, really the most common activity is sitting around. Uh,
Mm.
and if you're sitting around for a year, you find stuff to do. So
That's true. That's true. So I'm just pulling up your Facebook page here. You guys have got some really cool things that you've got going on with I just noticed here and it says all sold out. You've got an event on March 24th for paranormal investigation. Can we talk
we
a little
do.
bit about some of the paranormal activity that you guys have experienced there?
Definitely, yeah. So full disclosure, I myself have yet to actually experience something. But that being said, I'm still waiting. It could very well happen. But no, we have various groups come in, and they're either groups who are coming in for themselves, and it's just like a private group that wants to investigate. But we also have groups that come in for free, and so they get to investigate while the public watches, and
Okay.
that's that's what that is. And so those sell out really quick. In fact, actually, I think all the tickets sold out. I think we put up on Facebook sometime in the morning, maybe like 9, and I think every single ticket was probably sold by 2 or 3.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it's pretty instant. So we need to do more of those for sure. But yeah, so I mean, it's from 7 to 9, I think. Yeah, it looks like it says it's from 7 to 9, which is pretty neat. We've had all sorts of different experiences that I've been told about. Like hearing footsteps, or there's this one story about how there was a board meeting in that downstairs dining room area, which is now it's got that octagonal case in it.
Mm.
They were having a board meeting, I guess, at some point in the past, probably the 70s or the 80s, maybe the 90s. I'm not quite sure. But supposedly they saw a ghost of a woman walk past them. And I mean, these people have no reason to make that up. I mean, they're just people, And the interesting thing too is that only some of the board members saw it, some didn't. Um,
Okay.
so whether or not it happened or not, I wasn't there to tell. But we have, I mean, I do hear people all the time, I mean, even like this one gentleman who came in, he's just like the county painter, and he was talking about how like he heard like footsteps in the attic, and he was dead serious and very very sincere about it. Um, and of course, he went up to check it out, and there was nothing there. Um, so you never know, but if you're interested in trying to find out, you can always come on by for either a private or a group tour or a group paranormal thing.
So, so if somebody is interested in that, is the best way to, if they want to book a paranormal investigation, like a private team or whatever, is it to reach out to the museum, or what? Do you have something on your website? What is the best way that people can reach out if they're interested in the paranormal?
Definitely, yeah. So I mean, reach out to us. We're the ones who take care of it. We do have a group come in. It's usually Culpeper Paranormal,
Okay.
but reach out to us and we take care of the ticketing and stuff like that. Info@faulquierhistory.org is the email. But you also find for private investigations on our website. We do have some information, I think, about rates. And just typically to what we do. Usually it's between 6 p.m. and 12 a.m. And we do go longer occasionally, depending on if we can find a staff member or it's a volunteer willing to stay up. But we do actually have one very, very kind board member who I think is actually willing to stay up the whole night, which we very much appreciate. So, yep.
And so,
I mean,
do those investigations, does that include both jails
it
or
does,
both
yes.
buildings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that we close off, and we don't even really close it off, we just make sure that there's a staff member in it, is just the collections room. But you have free run of every single room except for, I guess, the attics. But yeah, so investigate away.
Okay. And I'm trying to put the I've got the Facebook page there, as well as the email address that you guys have on your page, and then also the web page there where people can go find more information. I love what you guys have done with the Fauquier Historical Society page. Now, I know we were talking briefly beforehand. So the Historical Society is the one that runs the museum inside there, correct?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going to also go ahead and just kind of pull that screen up here on the Historical Society page. A lot of great information. Looks like you've got videos, you've got your virtual tour that we just went through, as well as if you want to find out more information about the exhibits, as well as the walking tours and events. I was just looking at that before when I was browsing your website. You guys have quite a few different events there within the community. Are there any events that you guys hold year round, like ghost walks or kind of like lunch and learn speaking type events? Do you have any of those that you guys typically do year round?
So it really depends. Walking tours, obviously we're not in the Northeast, but we're getting up to almost the mid it's like Atlantic. And so
Mm-hmm.
basically, yeah, so I mean, it does get cold, but despite that, though, we try to have walking tours really from around, um, usually from around March or April to about like November. So we'll have all sorts of walking tours. We have some about trades, like historic trades. We have some about just like historic downtown streets. But of course, like you said, we do have some ghost tours as well around Halloween, and those are a lot of fun. Those are about like an hour long or so, going
Okay.
to like different haunted stops, which is kind of neat. But we also have lectures and things like that. Like we have one that is, we have two that are coming up actually. One is with a new author who is writing about or who wrote about Virginia presidents and is kind of going to give a talk about how to see the homes of these Virginia presidents. And we have another one who's actually going to be talking about something about the Cold War.
Ah,
He's the founder of the Cold War, or he's one of the founders of the Cold War Museum in Fauquier. His father was in the Cold War, but his last name is Powers. His father actually was shot down over Russia, from what that I've heard. So he's going to be talking about his books about that. So I mean, you can kind of get a sense that our events are pretty wide ranging,
mhm.
and we don't really have set stuff that happens year round. Each month. It's more seasonal, essentially. The only
Okay.
thing that I would say is kind of regular is the paranormal, because we can have it happens anytime. So yeah.
Absolutely. So the best way to find out about these events that you guys have going on, I guess you put them on your Facebook page as well as on the Historical Society website.
Yep. The
Perfect.
Facebook, it's Instagram, the website, and yeah, and then of course, we do send out it's emails occasionally. You'll see we have the annual meeting that's coming up. That's going to be a talk about a local ordinary, who a local gentleman is actually currently restoring, or who might have actually finished restoring. Either way, we will find out about that in only a couple weeks, which is kind of exciting. But yeah, so all different ways to learn about how you can reach us and see what we have going on.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm just going to pull up just so I usually have this pulled up in the beginning of the episodes here, kind of showing everyone where where you guys are located. So you guys are basically you're not far there out of you're not far from DC.
Not at all. We're about, I mean, I guess I've never driven it myself, but I think we're only a little bit over an hour, maybe. I mean, I'm sure traffic makes a change as well. But yeah, so I mean, really, I mean, we have a lot of, I mean, we do have like a whole lot of locals, but I would say probably more than half are not local, and I mean, a lot of them are from DC. It doesn't feel like DC, like DC stretches down, like the suburbs stretch down to Fredericksburg, but it's kind of interesting. This particular way, or I guess I should go that way, since I was facing that way. That whole section's like a road that like hasn't built up too much, and so Warrenton is still kind of like a rural small town. But we definitely do still get a lot of day trippers, like I'm sure. But yeah, it's a pretty it's diverse audience from all like from all different places and backgrounds, I think, which is
And
kind
you
of
all look like
interesting.
a pretty large county.
I think that we're like the third largest county in Virginia.
Yeah, that I mean, I was surprised when I saw this just how large you guys were. So definitely I know whenever cuz I know I'm going to be up in the Pennsylvania area twice in the upcoming months. And so I know that I definitely want to try to swing by there whenever I'm on my way to Gettysburg and on my way to northern Pennsylvania a little bit later on in the year, and definitely check you guys out. Do you all have normal like daytime business hours, or is this something that if somebody wanted to tour the jail that they would need to reach out to you for an appointment? If someone is passing through and interested, what are your
Yeah,
hours?
right. So we are open every single day except for Tuesday, 11 to 4.
Okay.
So, which I mean, for a local history museum is open quite a bit.
Yeah.
But of course, I sometimes that I'll stay until 5, or I'll come in like a little bit early. So sometimes, if you just knock a little hard at the front door, I might actually be there as well. But no, really though, I mean, our business hours are from 11 to 4. So yeah, so come by and check us out. And hope to see you.
Absolutely, guys. You definitely want to go check that out because these guys, Gus and his team, have put a lot of work and a lot of effort into the preservation and restoration of this jail. And I just got to say, I love seeing some of the different videos that you guys have put out. And I love your t-shirts that you have there in the gift shop. It's pronounced Fauquier. I like that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely stumps people. Actually, when I first came here, it definitely stumped me. So having those t-shirts, I think is perfect for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. So go check out the Fauquier History Museum Facebook page, the website there. We do have all those links in the show notes. We also have those in the comment section. So if you're watching this on the replay on YouTube or any other platform, you can go in and you can check out their page. If you're in the area, become a member, go and check them out and get involved. And if you're a paranormal investigator that's looking for another jail to do, definitely check out their events or reach out to Gus and his team and see about booking yourself a paranormal investigation. Because I know, like I said, I want to come visit, and just hearing some of the different stories, I know I definitely want to do an investigation there.
Definitely. Check us
So,
out. 100%.
yes.
Thanks for
So,
having me.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. And I'm gonna pull you off the screen here, and we're gonna close a few things out. But if you'll hold on for a few minutes, I'll talk to you after we get off the show. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight and sharing about your location and answering our questions.
Thank you. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you soon here. All right, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Like I said, we're in the middle of this wonderful series where we're highlighting other jails from all around the country. We've got a bunch of jails lined up in the coming months that we're really, really excited to share their stories, share what they're doing in the preservation and restoration. Go back and watch some of our previous episodes where we've covered jails in Georgia, Florida, and Texas, and of course now in Virginia. Like I said, we've got a lot coming up, so you're going to definitely want to check that out. We did have some audio issues 2 weeks ago when we had the ladies from Lavaca County, so we will try to have them on at another point in time to where we can have them on and not have the audio. Next week, we are going to be traveling to Indiana, where we talk to the folks from the Crown Point Jail. So I know that they've definitely got some haunting stories with their paranormal, as well as some really cool history. So you're not going to want to miss that. Also, if you are looking to close out February with something really fun and interesting to do with your family, you can come and you can take one of our After Dark tours. We still have some guided ghost hunts. We still have some of those dates available in the next little bit. We will be announcing our March series of After Dark tours as well. And then also, we've got paranormal investigations. We've got the calendar open through the remainder of the year. We're about to, hopefully this week, we will be announcing some really cool motorcycle events that we have coming up. Been working with the Christian Motorcycle Association out of Campbell County. Last year, we hosted the Blessing of the Bikes. It was our first annual, had an amazing turnout. And so we're hoping to have a great, even better turnout this year. That's going to be on April 15th, and it's going to be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Come by on your motorcycle, get your bike blessed, and get, we've got some special deals for bikers. If they come in and tour the jail, we're going to be giving away some free stuff. And we also hope to have a food truck there as well. So always important at the start of riding season to get those bikes blessed. And we're really honored to be partnering with the Christian Motorcyclists Association out of, I can't remember if they're out of Campbell County or if they're out of Jacksboro, but they're out of the neighboring county to us. So we were really excited for that. We're also going to be a stop on the Harold Young Memorial Scholarship Dart Run. We're going to be the final stop, and that's going to take place on May 20th. That is a scholarship that's named in honor of my father. And so we'll have more details about that coming up, but we will be the final stop on there, and it's definitely something that you're going to want to get involved in. All the proceeds from that goes to a student from Scott High School who is majoring in the field of science. So like I said, we'll have a little more information on that, as well as several other motorcycle rides that's coming up here in the spring months. So again, until next week, Please keep an eye on our website for any announcements, events, and stuff that's coming up. www.historicscottcojail.com, and be sure to tune in next week for the Jailhouse Informant, which will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Facebook page. And then also we'll rebroadcast after on the YouTube channel. So until next week, hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we will be talking to everyone soon. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight.